Yeah. Maybe.
Then I know some churches where the music director and
Yeah. Well, you try to recruit, we try to find a job at your shops. Yeah. Very good. I'm not sure. It depends on the software, you know, the person also serves as a compass, or the person leads as a compass. Some people can think that water is a company chief, but yes, it's very high level. That's the case. One person is going to give up.
Yep. Hey, Metric. What are you doing here? You had the mic or something? Yeah. Okay.
Joe?
That's Joe, sir. I was going to say.
Was that, what is
It's from you.
What is it?
Thanks.
That's for you and yours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let me ask you this. Oh, so that monitor, oh, there.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much. Thank you.
Yeah, I know, but I was just. That might be a
Maybe there'll be a space for a drum.
Well, we're gonna have a house. We're all dressed up in our outfits. Still Maybe here. I had to talk to Jennifer about it. Yes.
I'm all right too. I'm doing very well.
Yeah, what I did, Tim, too, is since I go right into my next thing, I put it,
Okay,
opening words right in there.
sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't think your dog would like cats. It can't, they like, you know.
It's also a lot of cat litter. Yes, it is, but I'm sure they'll charge that.
Yes.
gift to be simple, 'tis our gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
We welcome everyone here to First Unitarian Church of Toledo. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, we are thankful that you're here with us today. We thank David Strickler and Tom Sheehan for providing music for today's service, as we're between music directors, and they've helped out a number of times during this summer, and we're grateful for their maybe not so simple gifts. If you'd like to use an assisted listening device to help with hearing our public address system during services, we're now broadcasting on FM 90.7, and we have a couple of small radios with headphones available. If you have your own radio earbuds, please bring them. This is a radio signal that barely reaches through the building, so it's not a listen from home alternative. Our Toledoans Unitarian YouTube channel continues as that source. Our church's multi-faith meditation sessions, held in conjunction with the Flowing Waters Sangha, are back and in person, as well as continuing on Zoom. The sitting begins Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. here at the church in the Carl Sagan Room. Can you plan for two events on Labor Day weekend? First, at 1 p.m. next Sunday, so you can come for the service and stay for this, there will be a concert outdoors at 1 p.m. with a Party of Five brass quintet, which is made up of members of the Toledo Symphony Orchestra and includes our own Garth Simmons on trombone. This concert is free and open to the public and is made possible by a grant from the Recording Industries Music Performance Trust Fund. Then on Labor Day itself, Monday, September 5, there will be a picnic in our church's backyard from noon to 4. You're asked to bring your own food to grill, your drinks, and a dish to pass. The language of the notice says there will be a chef on the grill, and Reverend Tim didn't receive a note from someone saying they weren't too sure about grilled chef. He tried to assure them that the chef is plant-based, or at least plant-fed. And all that aside, please come by on Labor Day for a good church picnic. Our rummage sale, also known as the Hoarder Downsizing Sale, is set for September 10th. Sue Childers is this year's organizer. Not sure if Sue is out here with the back here waving her hand. And Sue is the organizer, and she's asking for helpers for both the day of the event and the time leading up to it to help collect and price donated items. If you have a truck We'd like to call on you to pick up a few big or heavy items. More people involved in the sale means less individual time and labor commitments, and so it benefits all of us. Please contact Sue Childers and let her know what you'll be willing to do and what rummage you might be donating. And finally, our in-gathering, the official start of our church year is 2 weeks from today. The topic for our 11 a.m. service is the periodic table. Continuing our recent in-gathering habits of examining the elements that make up life, the universe, and everything. After the service, we will have a church-wide field day. There will be cornhole, water games, and whatever other yard games people feel like bringing. There will almost certainly be an ice cream truck. This will be a fun afternoon of play or relaxation for all ages. So please bring your littles or not so littles and those who would prefer to sit in the shade and just watch. Contact Jenny Gottman on my front here with questions or with information about what you might like to bring. I now have these opening words by Peter Sampson. Humanism can be religious. Indeed, the most meaningful and livable kind of humanism is itself a religious way of understanding and living life. It offers a view of people and their place in the universe that is a religious philosophy. Overarching and undergirding it all, there can be a haunting sense of wonder which never leaves one for whom life itself is a mystery and a miracle. Where did we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? With all the effort, frustration, and grief and joy, to be caught up in this sense of wider relatedness, to sense our being connected in live ways with all the world and everyone in it, is the heart dimension of religion, whatever its name.
As Joe lights our chalice, these are words from Leslie Pohl Kosbau. Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. And please recite with me our covenant. It's printed in the order of service and it's on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. It's time for our opening hymn, led today by David and Tom. All of us are invited to join in singing. It's number 343, A Fire Mist and a Planet, and we'll sing verses 1, 3, and 4.
A fire mist and a planet, a crystal and a cell, a starfish and a saurian, and caves where ancients dwell. The sense of law and beauty, a face turned from the sod. Some call it evolution, and others call it God. Like tides on crescent sea beach, when moon so new and thin, into our hearts high yearnings come welling, surging in. Come from the mystic ocean, whose rim no foot has trod. Some people call it longing, and others call it God. A century lone and frozen, a mother's thought for her brood, and Socrates' dread hemlock, and Jesus on the road, and millions who, though nameless, and straight on pathway trod, some call it consecration, and others call it God.
Good morning. Does anybody here have a Bible? A few? Does this ring a bell from a biblical standpoint? Yeah? Okay. This snake on a pole is found in the book of Numbers in the Bible. According to the story, Moses took leadership of a group of people from Egypt. At the time, they were called Canaanites because that was the name of the land they came from. Moses took those Canaanites out of Egypt, which is where they wanted to live, and made them go on a journey to a place called Edom. The Canaanites were not happy about this, and they said to Moses, "You have taken us out of Egypt and brought us into this wilderness where there is no bread and no water." This being the Old Testament, that made the Lord angry. The Lord then sent a plague of fiery serpents to torment the Canaanites. After being tormented by these fiery serpents, the Canaanites were sorry for complaining. And they apologized to Moses and said, "Moses, please talk to your God and intercede and ask him to end this torment." Moses did, and according to the story, the Lord said to Moses, "Make thee a fiery serpent and set it upon a pole. And everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live." And Moses made a serpent of brass, and he put it upon a pole. And it came to pass that if any man had been bitten by a serpent, when that man looked upon it, he would live. So to recap, fiery serpents are sent from the Lord to plague these people from Egypt and cause them great torment. They appeal to God for help, and God tells them to look at a carving of a snake on a pole, and the torment will end. There is no explanation given in the Bible as to why God thinks looking at this pole is so important that the Canaanites have to do it to end the plague. Looking at the pole doesn't improve the world or feed the hungry. So this is a story that is hard for me as a humanist and a Unitarian Universalist to swallow. It doesn't make sense logically or narratively. Simply looking at a fake snake does not heal anyone of anything. So, do we have any medical professionals here? Does anybody know what this symbol is from a medical standpoint? Yeah? It's a caduceus. The caduceus represents medicine the same way that scales represent law or the red and white striped pole represent barbers. You'll see it sometimes embroidered on a doctor's white coat, or you'll see it painted on an ambulance so that it's a symbol to everybody this is a medical situation. So why does the caduceus represent medicine? One proposed explanation is that the caduceus is actually a picture of an ancient medical treatment, and that this particular treatment is so important to humans and so valuable that they would seek out this symbol to find the treatment. There is a very common parasite called, for those among us who are scientists, the Dranunculus medinensis. This parasite is common in Africa and it's very easy to catch. It lays eggs in water and people then drink that water. After they swallow these microscopic eggs, the parasite hatches in their body. With our medicine today, this parasite is very rarely fatal, but if it goes untreated, it can be fatal. It can cause blood poisoning or sepsis, and it can also cause tetanus. Even if you don't die from it, you're going to suffer. This parasite causes a whole set of terrible stomach troubles, fevers, blisters, and dizziness. It causes a lot of pain. It causes boils, swelling, burning, and itching, just a whole host of miseries. The treatment for this parasite, the treatment that was so important to people is kind of weird. The parasite itself wants to get back to water so that it can lay its eggs and continue its life cycle. So it will travel in the person's body down to their legs and feet, and eventually it will poke its little head out to see if it has gotten to water. People eventually realized that they could grab this head, wrap it around a stick, and slowly twist it to pull that parasite out of the body. This parasite is called a guinea worm, and the females can grow up to 3 feet long. An extremely long worm, native to Egypt, causes excruciating burning, itching, and fevers. Some might call those symptoms fiery. Some might say that 3-foot-long worm looks like a serpent. And when people look at this caduceus, snake on a pole, they just look at it and they see how to treat that horrible illness, to end the suffering, and to keep people from dying. There is no proof that the caduceus is the same brass snake on a pole that Moses made, or that the plague of fiery serpents was actually a guinea worm infestation. It's possible that these are two completely separate, mildly interesting stories. But for me, a humanist and a Unitarian Universalist, the possible connection between the two is a lot more believable than the idea that God told people to look at a serpent to stop their supernatural plague of dragon snakes. And it's very important to me, and I know to all of you, that our church doesn't ask us to leave our scientific knowledge and rational sense outside the church doors.
Thank you, David, our minister of banjo. Please join me for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. We all have joys and sorrows, celebrations and concerns within ourselves, within our families, in our community, and in the larger circles of the state, the nation, the world. These all sit in our minds, on our hearts. For our words of meditation and contemplation and prayer today, I have this song lyrics, "To No Other World," which is the fifth movement of Sources, a Unitarian Universalist cantata. Words are by my friend Kendall Gibbons. Music is by Jason Shelton. And I'll recite the words. I would live simply and bravely and nobly. Let no illusions remain. I would seek wisdom in human reality, even if wisdom be pain. Sing me no pious amens and old canticles. Let doubts and questions arise. Tell me no providence hidden in prophecies, but welcome the future's surprise. The time is now, the place is here. The good we know, the earth we share. This day we have, this love we give. No other truth, no other joy, no other life, no other world. Weave me no fairy tales frosted with miracles. Give me a light I can see. Spin me no promise of heavens and saviors. Teach me the truth that makes us free. Create my salvation in earth's endless wonder, everything nature provides. Let me be honest and wise in compassion. Make reason and conscience my guides. The time is now, the place is here, the good we know, the earth we share. This day we have, this love we give. No other truth, no other joy, no other life, no other world. Beautiful universe, fathomless energy, mysteries we struggle to know. This is our paradise. Dust is our destiny. Cherish the years as they go. The time is now, the place is here. The good we know, the earth we share. This day we have, this love we give. No other truth, no other joy, no other life, no other world. No other truth, no other joy, no other life, no other world. Let's observe 1 minute of silence.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I have this responsive reading of the 10 Commitments developed by the American Humanist Association Center for Education. This life in this world is our central defining focus. Each one of us is responsible for the collective welfare of humanity, other beings, and the resources of the shared planet. We value freedom, reason, and tolerance, and it is our responsibility to develop this heritage for ensuing generations. The 10 Commitments represents our shared humanistic values and principles that promote a democratic world in which every individual's worth and dignity is respected, nurtured, and supported, and where human freedom and ethical responsibility are natural aspirations for everyone. Please join me in reciting the following I statements for each of the 10 categories. If you don't consider yourself a humanist, I think you'll still agree with these commitments. The first, altruism. I will help others in need without hoping rewards. Critical thinking. Practice good judgment by asking questions and thinking for myself. Empathy. I will consider other people's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Environmentalism. I will take care of the earth and life on it. Ethical development. I will always focus on becoming a better person. Global awareness. I will be a good neighbor to the people who share the earth with me and help make the world a better place for everyone. Humility. I will be aware of my strengths and weaknesses and appreciate the strengths and weaknesses of others. Peace and social justice. I will help people solve problems and handle disagreements in ways that are fair for everyone. Responsibility. I will be a good person even when no one is looking and own the consequences of my actions. Service and participation. I will help my community in ways that let me get to the people I am helping.
The living tradition we share draws from many sources. Humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. Grateful for the religious pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, we are inspired to deepen our understanding and expand our vision. Humanist teachings are in our roots. Even though humanism is well established in Unitarian Universalism as a source of our living tradition, I still get asked what humanism is, in part because so many Unitarian Universalists are new to this liberal religion, but also because humanism is a term meaning a lot of things to different groups and changing through history. So what does it mean to us? Earlier in this series on Unitarian Universalist principles and sources, we used the terms direct experience for the first source and words and deeds of prophetic people for the second source. Not being what we think of as traditional religion, those needed some explanation. Then the third source is wisdom from world religions, and the fourth, Jewish and Christian teachings. So we didn't have to give much context there. Now for humanism, we have a philosophical term, and not all of us know what humanism is. Our source language pretty much spells out what's important for our humanism, that it's seated in reason and science, and that we don't let mind and spirit, although some humanists object to that term spirit because it leans toward the supernatural, but I say we understand it even so, mislead us. I think you could say that an aspect of humanism is that it's based in thought, from the mind, so be careful. And for some, thought, even with compassion and element of it, is oppositional to spirit. In essence, you can say that humanists rely on people and this world that we know, not on concepts of gods and an afterlife. That idolatries of the mind and spirit caution is recognition that we'd better not put all our faith in science fact as we know it now, because the scientific method is open to what appears true today being affected by future discovery. After all, it was Ptolemean science that the Earth is the center of the universe, until Copernicus said the Earth is one planet orbiting the sun as part of a solar system. And Galileo later proved that heliocentric concept. And the Webb telescope today shows us even more that we're nowhere near any universal center. And knowledge about the Big Bang theorizes that continuous universal expansion means there's no orderly center. Humanism is a pretty large and inclusive term here on our little earth. And it's used in philosophy especially. Our Unitarian Universalist religious humanism doesn't recognize anything as supernatural, stating that things in this universe are still to be discovered, will therefore be natural in some way, and therefore we don't assign the unknown to a God. But in history, there has also been religion-included humanism with God in the scheme. Our Unitarian Universalist humanism is closer to secular humanism, but we can't really use the term secular in our sacred way of having humanism part of our religion. There are people who use the term worldview instead of religion, which might better place humanism than the adjective of religious I use. It's awkward, isn't it? Today, I won't get much into humanist history of Unitarianism, a humanism that really came into Unitarianism in the late 19th century and flourished for us in the early 20th century. While humanism was rising in its influence for Unitarians, the consolidation of Universalists with Unitarians, formally in 1961, but with explorations of how we might come together happening for many years before, somehow lessened the humanist movement in our church. Now, I am a humanist in my own philosophy and theology and as a religious leader. It's the source I speak from. But I'm not only a humanist. I'm Unitarian Universalist with my feet in all 6 of our sources. I think for the good of the larger Unitarian Universalist Church, we must be pluralist and inclusive as we can responsibly be. And I think we have a special connection to the world religions source, Unitarian Universalism as a whole, and not just we Toledo Unitarians, but we certainly do, thanks to the Multi-Faith Council of Northwest Ohio coming into being primarily by Woody and Judy Troutman of our congregation. And not just other churches like First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, where I served my ministerial internship, and which proclaims itself a humanist congregation. We Toledo Unitarians have a history of Christianity with Judaism in that category too, and paganism, and direct experience, and prophetic teachings, all with people going beyond First Unitarian Church of Toledo in living their particular leading source. We're sources inclusive and better for it. There are Unitarian Universalists who have problems with humanism being a source, I know. When I spoke of the decline happening alongside the consolidation of the Unitarians and the Universalists, it wasn't just that organizational change that lessened humanism's position. Part is also probably cultural change. And the humanist movement has continuing challenges with diversity, though also it is open to people globally and to voices from other places than its comfort zone. Our Unitarian humanism came largely from the people responsible for the Humanist Manifesto of 1933. In 2009, the Journal of Liberal Religion published a scholarly article I wrote, Meadville and the Manifesto. I found that 34 signers of the Humanist Manifesto, of the 34, more than half were Unitarians, and 15 of them were Unitarian ministers. Later, the American Humanist Association, still the primary U.S. humanist organization, was begun by Unitarian ministers, primarily Curtis Reese and John Dietrich. In a way, might Unitarianism be a source for the 20th century version of humanism, rather than humanism being a Unitarian Universalist source? Can it be both? As humanism has continued a secular route, I'm starting to wonder if it will eventually be labeled a largely Unitarian movement in history, like transcendentalism, that won't retain its position as a full source for our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. And that as our principles and sources are reviewed periodically, including currently today, the term could end up being eliminated in favor of greater emphasis on reason and science. Maybe use the term free thought or state that we're free thinkers instead. We'll see. And if so, some will be upset about it, as we still have a solidly humanist faction in Unitarian Universalism. I'll be okay if we drop humanism as a word. If we also, as I spoke of last week, take the term God out of our bylaws. And I know that my de-emphasizing the word humanism, but hoping we remain at source level with the concept and intent of humanism, does make me a heretic to many humanist organizations and colleagues with whom I work in humanist circles. I'll deal with that however it may be. Today, though, humanism remains our fifth source. As a humanist myself, that gives me a place in this institution. And as a pluralist, I want us all to find places here. It doesn't have to be a single source, certainly not the same one, but let reason and science guide you today. So be it.
We now come to the offering. If you like what you hear in this church, if you like what you see, if you like what we do, then we ask you to support us with your financial commitments. There are many ways that you can contribute to the support of our mission and our work. You can go to uutoledo.org, our website, click on Give, and then click on Online Giving. You can send us a check to First Unitarian Church, 3205 Glendale Ave, Toledo, Ohio, 43614. There is an envelope in the hem rack in front of you. And as you depart from the sanctuary to the left, there is a basket. All offerings, all gifts are greatly appreciated and needed to the continuing work of this church. I have these closing words from the Humanism and its Aspirations. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
First, we do closing coming soon. Next week's 9:45 a.m. Spiritual Forum. Elliot Adams told me today that she will have a program for that. And do you want to say something now?
So good morning, everyone. I haven't yet decided what next week's program will be. So as Reverend Tim has been saying so far all summer, come along and be amazed, hopefully. So most of you know that I was the Spiritual Adventures Committee Chair for the last 2 years. I need to thank my committee members, Aaliyah White, Pat Church, Ginny Washing, and Therese Lane for being tireless idea generators and people contactors. I'd also like to thank all of you for attending on Zoom, because I don't think we would have had as much fun without a full computer screen full of your faces. And I also absolutely have to thank Reverend Tim for taking over July and August, because we were done. We were out of brain cells. So this year begins a new format for what's now going to be called Spiritual Forum rather than Spiritual Adventures, because in part, Forum suggests a gathering of people together in the same space, not a virtual space. So as you know, our Spiritual Adventures Zoom meetings for the last 2 years means we had a speaker nearly every week. We are shifting gears for the forum for this coming year. And so we're going to have a slightly different format for each week. So the first week, we're going to have an invited guest speaker, much like we've had for the last 2 years. The second week, we're going to have an adult religious education session. The third week will be intergenerational crafts, low stakes, wear your smocks, okay? Fourth week will be a current event or issue discussion. And then because there are 4 5th Sundays a year, we are going to invite some of our sage elders to share what they have experienced here in our church over the years. And so, with this new format, we are asking for greater participation from you all. This participation can take a couple of different forms. One is that you might volunteer to lead one of these Sundays, or you might volunteer to bring someone with you who is willing to lead these Sundays. That's one way it's going to do it. If you have a topic idea that you would like to see somebody else do, and maybe you know who that somebody else is, but you're not sure you want to contact them, Jenny Gottman and I are co-chairing this, and so get in touch with either of us for that. We are going to continue with our face-to-face meetings beginning from 9:45 to 10:45, and as we have been doing so far all of this summer. And there will be childcare available during that time. So unless it's intergenerational crafts or you have kids who are really interested in a current event or issue discussion, the childcare will be available for them. And so whatever the attendance is will determine what kind of activity they will have. So down the hall on the right, as you head towards Fellowship Hall, there's a new bulletin board, and it's the Spiritual Adventures Forum bulletin board, and it has a calendar of a sort for the next several months, with each week and the date filled in for each of the months. And you'll notice that there are sticky notes. Each of the sticky notes has a heading for whatever the week's forum topic will be. Some of them are already filled in, so you can get a sense of how this is going to work. But the rest of them are blank, which means we need you to help us fill those in. Okay? Yes? Cool. All right. So Jenny Gottman and I are available for ideas or questions. And so you know who both of us are, and we look forward to hearing from you and maybe sitting in on one of the sessions that you lead. So thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Elliot. And next week's 11 a.m. Sunday service, Earth-Centered Spirituality Grounds Us, is the final entry in our summer series on the Unitarian Universalist principles and sources. Our in-gathering will be the week after.
And you're cordially invited to social hour, coffee, straight down the hall to Fellowship Hall right after the service. And now for closing words. From Humanism and Its Aspirations, a 2003 version of the American Humanist Association's Humanist Manifesto. Humanists affirm that knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. Humans are an integral part of nature, the result of unguided evolutionary change. Ethical values are derived from human need and interest as tested by experience. Life's fulfillment emerges from individual participation in the service of human ideals. Humans are social by nature and find meaning in relationships, and working to benefit society maximizes individual happiness. We aspire to this vision with the informed conviction that humanity has the ability to progress toward its highest ideals. The responsibility for our lives and the kind of world in which we live is ours and ours alone.
As we send the flame of our chalice into the community, let's use our minds by way of reason and science to know that this is a figurative, even spiritual action, but it's a thought to spread Unitarian Universalism to all humans.
So I chose this postlude today because I find it fun to play. I did a little research. I couldn't find anything sacred or spiritual about it. But I will tell you this, there are many different versions of this song, Buffalo Gals. There's an Alabama version, there's a Kentucky version, there's a New York version. So it is part of a living tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, David and Tom.